Hello, everyone, and thanks for checking out another talk here. And I'm going to play a little bit, and then our theme is going to be about picking, alternate picking, also known as economy picking. So I'll open up by playing around a little bit here. All right, so a couple courses there, just exploring Stella by Starlight. It's one that I often play. It's just really great tune, great chord changes. So let's get to the idea of um, alternate picking and think about different kind of styles of picking and maybe contrast it with some other things as well. So I'll mention some other styles, but our main topic will be to really think about the importance of alternate picking. So even if you don't necessarily use alternate picking exclusively, or if you don't use it at all, then you'll still benefit from practicing it. And I would highly recommend to use it a lot of the time, probably the vast majority of the time. And we'll go over kind of some of the reasons for that too. So when you get your hand, your picking hand, moving kind of back and forth. So let's say we have string 3, fret 5 here. When you get your hand kind of moving at a regular rate and back and forth, what you're doing is just kind of taking a kind of a load off your thinking or processing or the information you have to kind of deal with. And so it's just kind of a regular back and forth. So you just kind of set the hand to the tempo. And so down would be on the beat, and then up would be on the end of the beat. So you'd have like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So since there are two sides of the string, that's where we get the economy sort of thing going. So we pluck, we end up on the opposite side of the string. Okay, and then we pluck up, and then we end up on the opposite side of the string again. So down, up. So not only do we keep a real regular thing going with the picking hand, and that will help us to really kind of fall in and settle in with the with the rhythm section or metronome or whatever we're working with. But as I was saying, it will also be very efficient, right? Because you have one direction and then the opposite direction. So if you pick, let's say, just sort of wherever, which is, I'm not saying to never do that, but what I am kind of proposing is that you do the alternate picking most of the time. But your time might suffer a little bit, so you might have to focus a little more on the idea of really settling in and maybe not rushing or dragging too much unless you're intending to do it. And then because you don't have the physical motion of just back and forth, so so the physical part of it is not rotating. So, but you can certainly play, and in certain situations, you might actually want to play kind of in one direction because that can actually be fairly efficient as well. So if you do sweep kind of picking, so you kind of go over, could be an arpeggio typically because your hand will fit in kind of one position, but then you're going in one direction, and then you can kind of sweep over the strings. So that's another way to do it, and there are certain times when that's going to work really well, and that's actually going to flow very nicely. So what do we do if we have actually, let's just review a little bit, then I'll talk a little bit about some 16th notes and some other things. Okay. So alternate picking, basically alternating between the ceiling side of the string and the floor side of the string. So just kind of going back and forth. Okay. So that motion, and try to get it going from the forearm, whether you're rotating the forearm or kind of swinging the forearm. Take one of those larger muscle groups and work that in. And then if you want to get a little more swingy sound, just delay the upstrokes slightly, right? So that's kind of the idea. We just go over, and you can practice this with a scale and just kind of going back and forth. So we're basically trying to land on the beat 1, and then up on the and, down on the 2, up on the and, down on the 3, up on the and, down on the 4, up on the and then so basically the beat will be down, and then up will be the and of the beat. Okay. So what do we do if we want to play 16th notes or even triplets? But let's talk about 16th notes a little bit. So if you're playing 16th notes, the basic technique is to just kind of go twice as often with the picking hand. So each down would be this time the beat number and the and of the beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so then right now I'm playing string 5 fret 3. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So if you're tapping your foot, this time you're tapping your finger or your pick is going down on the tap, and then on the highest level of the toe coming up. Okay, so then everything fits in between. You have the E and the on the and of the beat. Okay, so 1 E and 2 E and like that. Okay, so it's really kind of the same thing, but we're just fitting in twice as much per beat. Okay. Now there may be times when you want to keep the eighth note motion going, but you want to maybe fit in a 16th. So what do? Well, you could slur. So we could play 1 and 2 and so that would be down, up, down, up. Okay. I think that first time may have gone back to the 16th, but that would be a slur. So you would play the 16th note with the fretting hand. And so what I just did there was I played that D on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, string 3. So that's 1 and 1 and okay. So then in the picking hand, you're playing the same alternate picking for eighth notes, but in the fretting hand, you're fitting in a 16th note in between. Now, what kind of works well for alternate picking with eighth notes and 16th notes is just kind of the basic math of it. So when you have two opposing sides of the string, you have the ceiling side of the string, you have the floor side of the string, then what you're going to do is have an even number, right? So we have two things. We have going down towards the floor, we have going up towards the ceiling, and back and forth. So you have two options. So even numbers like twos and fours, like eighth notes and 16th notes. That's all just going to work out, and it's not going to. It's always going to write itself on the beat. Even if you have, let's say you have an eighth note, quarter note, and then an eighth note. So we'd have something like 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'm still plucking alternate picking. I'm still going down, up, up. And that's a really important concept, which is that sometimes we're going to miss the string. It could be in either direction. So in that case, I'm playing 1 and 2, and the pick is going down, up, up. And so you make the motion on that beat too. You make the motion of down, which I oftentimes talk to students about as a miss. So you miss the strings. And that's what alternate picking is more about. It's more about contact and not contact on the strings and the hand just going back and forth. So you have down, up, miss, up, down, up, miss, up. So whatever the rhythm happens to be, you can fall into that as long as it's not an odd number. So that's where triplets can kind of take things in a different direction. So if you have a triplet and you pluck 1, 2, what happened on 2 was I plucked upward, right? Because I had down, up, down, and then if I want to play another triplet, let's say on B2, then I have to go up, down, up. So it kind of reverses itself. So we go 1, 2, 1, 2, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, so that presents that bit of an issue there. And if you get into playing quintuplets, also that's going to be an issue for that. So just a couple examples there. So thinking about triplets, you know, versus the eighth notes. Okay, so that can become a little bit of an issue um, with that, but just something to kind of be aware of, just because it has that odd number. All right, so I'm streaming here live on YouTube, and this is video edition of this is available on the member area on YouTube. So if you're checking this out on the podcast, and you want to see a little bit of the visuals of what I'm doing, check out the member area there on YouTube. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for being a member, and helps to support and enhance the channel. All right, everybody. Well, I'm gonna play a little bit, and I'll work in, the alternate picking, get a chance to see that kind of in action, and then we'll call it a day. All right, everybody. Well, thanks again for checking out this video. Hope you enjoyed it, or checking out the podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you all in the next one. Have a great practice session.